And I don't know if you want to get recording. Awesome. Hello and welcome, Zendesk Community. Thank you so much for being here today. Either it's cold and snowy where you are or maybe sunny. We're very happy to have you here to talk about acting with a unified customer view on Zendesk. We've got a great group of people here from Zendesk here to talk about this topic, but a quick review of our agenda today. I will be introducing our team and speakers. We'll then go through a bit of some trends that we're seeing in the market and kind of why we're talking about this topic and why it's important. Do a live demo in Zendesk to share a little bit more of what you can do in the Zendesk platform today on this topic, and then spend some time on some tips and tricks. So we've got really smart people on the call today from the platform team and product team to give some tips and tricks for you on this particular topic. And then, of course, spend a good amount of time on the Q&A. So from our team here at Zendesk, again, my name is Megan. Hopefully it's not the first time you've seen me. It's been an honor being a part of this amazing community and going through these topics. So I'm on the product marketing team here at Zendesk. I'll be your host. We then have Peter Gillen, who is our senior product marketing manager, also on my team, but very focused on the platform here at Zendesk. We then have Varsha Deshpande, who's a platform architect, and Chris Luongo, who is our solution consultant, both of which help us put together those tips and tricks, and we'll be here to answer all your burning questions. A few housekeeping items. Yes, we are recording. The reason for that is so that we can share this information with you or this recording with you after, and then also post it on our YouTube channel. So if you aren't able to join us for the whole event, you can come back and watch it in its entirety. And then for Q&A, yes, we have a chat. It's great. We love kind of hearing where you all are coming from and where you're at. But any questions you have, please ask your questions in the live Q&A portion, so the Q&A tab on the right. We'll do our best to get to all those questions today. If we don't get to them, we apologize in advance, but of course we will be following up. So with that, I'll pass it to my colleague Peter, who will go through the trends.
All right, thanks Megan, and hi everybody. It's really great to be here. So really quickly, I'm going to set our topic up, and then we're going to dive into the rest of the event. So as Megan said, our topic for today is acting with a unified customer view on Zendesk. And this is a topic that a lot of businesses are thinking about. It's a topic that we've gotten a lot of questions about from the community. And it's one that we're seeing some really big trends around. In the customer service world, we're seeing that when it comes to a complete view, agents are really struggling. They're struggling to get the customer and the business context that they need. And so, in fact, we saw this in our 2022 CX Trends report, where 3 out of 4 agents raised their hands and said, we don't feel very effective at getting this unified view. Agents are spending a lot of time tracking data down across multiple systems. They're switching between tools, and they're having to ask customers to repeat themselves about information they should probably already have. Maybe it's in a tool and they just can't access it quickly enough. All of this makes it harder for agents to do their job, and it really hurts the customer experience. And so that's why CX leaders are so focused on trying to create and then act on this unified view. And so the next slide, thank you, Megan. So there's a lot of ways that you can use Zendesk to build and take action on a more complete customer view. For starters, you can manage all of your support channels from the agent workspace, so agents always have that context they need, even as customers are switching between channels. The platform has a ton of integration options for bringing all of your customer data into and out of Zendesk. That's a really key piece of building a unified view. So that way, your agents have all of the information they need, and then also other teams that collaborate with your agents have the information they need. You can use apps. That's a really powerful tool for building a unified view. You can use apps to see and take action on customer data that's stored in other systems right from Zendesk. Could be a pre-built app or a custom app. You can also track the customer journey within Zendesk by viewing a timeline of activity across Zendesk and other systems. So all of those support activities, that customers are engaging in through Zendesk, as well as customer activity events that are tracked in other systems like purchases, for example, that might be tracked in an e-commerce platform. With collaboration tools, you can also make it really easy for agents to share customer information and resolve issues faster across teams. So for a lot of businesses, light agents are a really powerful tool for doing this, where it's possible for subject matter experts on other teams to use that light agent role to hop into Zendesk, see the customer conversation, and then give that insight that they need to give. And then once you have this unified view, you can take action on it with automation and intelligence. So for example, automating entire customer interactions across systems based on the customer data that you have. You can also personalize answer bot conversations with data that's stored in other systems and leverage our new AI capabilities. So there's a ton of capabilities across the platform you can use and combine in the ways that really make the most sense for your business. So with that introduction out of the way, I'm going to turn it back over to Megan.
Awesome. Thank you, Peter. And thank you for setting the stage. I'm going to actually pass it over to Chris, who's going to dive into Zendesk. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen and let him take over so we can kind of see this in action. Go ahead, Chris.
Thank you much, Megan. I appreciate it. And can I get a verbal confirmation, Megan? Can you see my screen okay?
Yeah, we sure can. Looks good.
Fantastic. Awesome. So again, thank you everyone for joining here today. I'm going to walk you through a live example with my colleague Varsha here on what this concept could look like in practice. And I'm going to start from the role of a customer. And we're going to talk about a gentleman named John Candy here. He has an upcoming flight on the amazing airline Zen Air. But it's snowing outside, much like it is for a lot of folks today. So he just wants to check in and make sure things are still on time with this flight. Some folks like to call, but John Candy, he's not really the talking type. He likes to get on something like chat or some of these digital channels to reach out to the brands he does business with. In this instance here, he's reaching out over messaging through Zendesk. And when he comes into here, he's going to be automatically greeted by the Zen Air Assistant. And the Zen Air Assistant just goes ahead and bubbles up, hey, check flight status as an option that John can select here. That's exactly what I need to do. I simply want to check on my flight here. And you'll see that the bot, instead of handing this off to a human, the bot can handle that itself. So Zen Air Assistant comes back, understands that John wants to check his flight status, and asks for John's reservation number. I'm going to plug my reservation number in there, 1234. It's a great reservation number. And then the Zen Air Assistant comes back and provides some information about John's flight from Denver all the way out to Texas. Looks like the flight's delayed, so now we're going to offer the option to reschedule that flight. Now, before we move forward and look on the agent side of this, I just want to call out what exactly happened here. So we came in as that end user and we wanted to complete an action, something that typically an agent would manually complete. Well, in this instance, we've taken Zendesk Answer Bot, and that bot had the ability to collect data and then reach out to an external system to pull back some personalized data and provide that to our good friend John Candy here. Now, we may reach a point where the bot can't assist any further. And so that's where we'll then escalate the conversation to a human. So I'm going to click yes right here. Again, the bot's asking if we want to reschedule. It's going to ask for a couple more pieces of data here that I'm going to go ahead and fill out. And this is just great contextual data that our agents can then have on the back end. So when I flip into Zendesk now, we're playing the role of an agent, and the bot has just handed the conversation to me, the agent. And now, Varsha, if you want to take it away from here.
Hi, Chris. Thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Varsha. So just moving the conversation from the chat to agent, you can see the entire conversation that about whatever was happened with the John is recorded in the same ticket. So when agents open this ticket, they have entire context of what the request is about. So the agent now knows that John wants to reschedule this flight. And also on the right side, you can see that there are more details about the flight, like the flight origin, the destination, and most importantly, the status of the customer. So we know now that John is a frequent flyer and he has a gold flyer status, which qualifies him for a free rescheduling, and he doesn't need to be charged extra for that. So agent can continue on to this conversation, maybe confirming on the new date or so, and then once, yeah. So from a John's perspective, this is a continuous conversation. So he's really not repeating any of the information that he shared earlier, like reservation number or his name or email or any other details. So the agent has context to everything that John has, and whatever the agent needs to reschedule the flight. So now that the new date is confirmed and he chooses the new date and click on update, you can see that the flight is successfully rescheduled. And along with that, we are also sending an automated response back to John saying that your flight is rescheduled to the date and thank you for choosing Zen Air. So this is the power of unified customer view, wherein an agent can pretty much have a complete context on the customer and the request, but is also able to take action without switching between applications.
Yeah, thank you, Varsha. And a couple other things I want to point out here as well. And one is over on the left in the form side over here. Because the bot understood what that customer's intent was about, a flight change, when we escalate that conversation, we have that ability to set the appropriate form. So we have the flight change form here, and we even tag the conversation based on the intent of that. Also, from our app over in the side that Varsha built and did a fantastic job on, that flyer, frequent flyer status, that gold flyer status was actually also pushed to the tags over on the left. So having that ability to also push data into Zendesk that exists in external systems is very powerful, because then you can use that to route conversations as well too. You could report on conversations as well too. Another call out here is that reservation number down in the bottom left. Because the bot collected that, that's automatically passed over into here as well. Now, I do want to put a final bow on this before we move along, and that is in the top right here. When I go to the user profile for John Candy, John reached out over web messaging today, but he may be the type of person that likes to use other mechanisms for communication. Think like SMS or maybe Facebook Messenger, for example. Well, in Zendesk, we can build that unified view of the different channels that John reaches out on. And so if I scroll down here on the right, I can actually see John, all of his previous interactions across these different channels. The bulk of these are just over web messaging, but here's a conversation John started over SMS. So if I quickly go to John's profile here, I have that unified view of all the channels that he's reached out to Zen Air on. So again, SMS, web messaging, we'll be able to tie it together to John, and that's going to help the agent get that full context, not just data points about the customer, but the different channels that customer has reached out over. And with that, I am going to stop sharing here. And Megan, we'll hand it back to you.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Varsha. That was an awesome demo. I really appreciate it. Perfect. Can I get a thumbs up? You can see my screen now. Cool. All right, everyone. We're getting into some tips and tricks. We want you to walk away with some actionable items. So I will drive the slides, but I'll pass it over to, I think, Chris, you've got this first one here.
Yeah, you got it. So first thing we want to talk about here is just chatbots. Like we showed in the example today, there's a lot you can now do with Flow Builder within Zendesk. And the two specific items I want to call your attention to are these new steps that allow you to make API calls to external systems. Now, these are named Ask for Details and Make an API Call. Now, what these allow you to do is have that chatbot in an automated fashion call out to an external system like we just did in that example. So first I can ask for details to pass in that call. So if I need to get flight information for a very specific flight, I need to understand what flight that is. So let's prompt our end user for that piece of data, right? So in the example we showed earlier, that was that reservation number. So bot collects that reservation number in the ask for details step. And now that's a variable you can use to make an API call to an external system to get that very specific piece of data back into the conversation. Now, if we think from a customer's perspective, they now have this personalized interaction with a chatbot, right? So that unified view kind of works for both the customer and the agent. So that customer, regardless of the channel that they're reaching out on, we can have that bot in there and give it the ability to enrich the conversation with some extra details. Obviously, a lot of benefits to an experience like this. Again, pushing data to external systems. Let's do another example here. Let's say a sales use case. You could have a chat bot on your homepage of your website, and that bot's job is just to collect leads. So it may ask for details from that prospective customer. Hey, what's your name? What company do you work for? What's your email? What size is your company? And once the bot has collected that information, it could then push it to a CRM of some sort. So think maybe a Salesforce or even a homegrown system. So start thinking about chatbots, especially in today's day and age. They're so crucial to any support operation, and they can take a lot off the plate for your agents, but also provide a much better experience for that end user. So with that, we will go to the next slide here. Perfect. Perfect. So now we're talking about this concept, and we've touched on it a few times, is thinking about the different channels that your customers may reach out over. And Zendesk is well positioned to be able to take all those conversations into the platform and provide that unified view of the end user, like we showed in the demo a little bit earlier. So when that agent gets a conversation from John Candy over web messaging, they can see the other interactions that John Candy has had over something like a Facebook, for example. So when you think about Zendesk, there are the standard channels we offer out of the box. So talk, if somebody wants to call in, no problem, we can support that. SMS, email, submitting a ticket on the website. But then we get into some of those social channels, and there's a lot of opportunities to bring that inside of Zendesk. So think your Twitter, your Facebook Messenger, your WhatsApp. These are all very popular channels that customers are used to using, whether it be in their personal lives or in professional lives. And then we kind of have the custom side of things. So Zendesk supports some specific channels out of the box, but there may be channels that we don't support natively. Well, there are ways to build connectors into those channels. So again, when you think about the different ways your customers interact with your business, there may be an opportunity to bring that interaction into Zendesk through a custom connector. And ultimately, that's going to give your agents a unified view of that full customer journey. And then we'll head to the next slide there, Megan.
Sorry, I was on mute. So giving agents the key context and power to act on. So bringing apps into the agent workspace is a powerful way to give agents all the customer information they need and make it easy for them to take action. To begin with, always explore the marketplace apps, which host more than 1,200 plus apps that can be quickly installed and ready to use with minimal configuration. There are apps to connect to the marketing, customer success, e-commerce, and other solutions. Pre-built apps are generally focused on common use like data sync between Zendesk and external systems, which are mostly out-of-the-box objects, but has limited features on what actions agents can take. Pre-built apps do not support customization to extend the use case that are unique to your organization. If you have such scenarios, then you have to lean towards the custom applications. If the customer has also some legacy systems that do not support any API calls, then we have to build custom apps to kind of bring in the data and transform the data into API calls. So these are some of the ways that we can bring in the data from external system into the agent workspace to enhance the customer context and the request context. Next slide. Optimize the customer journey across systems. So one of the challenges to acting with a unified view is when service workflows are complex, it can be hard to track all the customer information and interactions across it. Mapping your customer's existing journey out, including agent workflows and other systems come into play, can be very useful. Identify where agents are looking up customer information outside Zendesk and see if you can easily surface them. Do not overload agents with a lot of information. Bring in the relevant data that help agents gain context on the request and who they are talking to. And this helps in expediting issue resolution and provide personalized experience to the customers, improving the overall customer satisfaction. Going back to our demo, surfacing flyer status and flight detail in the agent workspace was sufficient to reschedule the flights. Agents do not need to open the flight management system and search for customer and then flight details to take action. Next, to see where agents are doing a lot of heavy lifting and identify if any of these processes could be automated. To start with, always start with some automating simple tasks like auto close tickets, update some ticket fields or customer information, or reroute the ticket if there is no update by an agent, let's say in 24 hours, or so creating automated checklists. These are some of the use cases where we can automate and make it easier for agents. So surfacing the data easily and automating simple tasks allow agents to focus on more complex or unique requests or provide the consultation on the products and service. They now have bandwidth to engage with the customer on specific query rather than sharing some general responses. This helps in building long-lasting relationship with the customer. That's what we have for the tips and tricks, and back to you, Megan.
Thank you, Chris, and thank you, Varsha. I appreciate that. So with that, just one quick friendly reminder. I know I put it in the chat, but feel free to ask some questions live in the Q&A. We'll do our best to answer them. For now, we'll actually focus on some of the questions you asked us when you registered for this particular event. So we'll go through them right now, and we've got the right team to answer them. So starting out, what are the plan feature prerequisites within Zendesk for getting a unified customer view?
I can take that one. So there are actually no plan or feature prerequisites. You can get a unified customer view and act on that view across all of our suite plans. So regardless of what plan you're on, there are capabilities that can help with this. For example, omni-channel support, pre-built apps, custom apps are available across plans. We do have capabilities that are available on the higher tier plans only that can take getting a unified view to the next level. So an example would be our new AI capabilities, which really allow you to leverage a data model of tons of customer data points about your specific vertical. You might know we recently released for the retail vertical, and we'll be releasing for future verticals in the future, other verticals in the future. But you can use that data model to really make it easy for agents to get the right tickets based on the intent of the customer. So that's a more advanced feature available on enterprise only, but definitely features available across plans.
Love it. Love that we have capabilities across all plans. Thank you, Peter. How can I bring external customer journey data into Zendesk?
I can take that, Begin. There are a lot of ways to bring in customer data at different stages of a customer journey. Zendesk provides a range of no-code to pro-code tools for integration. You can integrate customer data and activities from other systems into self-service bot and agent workspace. To dive a little deeper into these options, let's say your customer reached out to the support via chat. You can personalize the conversation using Flow Builder by collecting basic details like what we saw in the demo, the flight reservation number, and do a data dip into the flight management system and respond back with the flight status. Next step, when the request is passed on to agent, Within Agent Workspace, you can leverage our marketplace apps that can be quickly installed, and there is no coding required, like apps to integrate with Salesforce and Jira. However, if you have more unique solution to be built, Zendesk also provides the pro code tools like Zendesk Application Framework, wherein you can build custom applications to display external data. As we saw in the demo, we built the custom app to pull the flight and customer information into the agent workspace. Next, we have the conversational data orchestration, which is powered by Zendesk integration service that also helps in building custom integrations and workflows. Overall, Zendesk is an open and flexible platform that provides the standard REST APIs, which makes it easy to integrate with other systems. And these are some of the ways that you can integrate customer data into Zendesk. Back to you, Megan.
Thank you, Varsha. How easy is it to build a custom app to pull in data from various sources?
I can take that one as well. Zendesk Application Framework makes it easy to build custom apps. The framework gives your apps access to various product resources using consistent APIs across supported Zendesk products. Zendesk Apps Framework provides the core and client APIs that allow developers to interact with the product APIs and events and even invoke actions. There are two main approaches when we build apps. There are client-side apps and server-side apps. The main difference between these two is where the asset of your apps are located and who stores and manages them. So the client-side apps are hosted and managed by Zendesk, whereas the server-side apps are hosted and managed by the customer. From technology standpoint, custom apps mainly consist of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, which are commonly used in building any apps. So there is no specific technology upskilling required to build custom apps. I was able to build this app in few hours. We are sharing a lot of documentation links for more information. However, if you do not have developer resources and need help, our Zendesk professional services team can help build apps for you. Please reach out to your account executive. Back to you, Megan.
Perfect. Yeah, I know we're sharing a ton of resources in the general chat. So we're throwing them at you guys, but we'll also be sharing them in the follow-ups as well. All right, next question. How can we use layouts or interfaces to get a more customer-centric view?
Okay, I can take that one. So there's a few different ways you can do this. So first, with flexible layouts and agent workspace, you can adjust the interface to make sure agents can focus in on the most relevant customer information. So for example, you can resize the width of the context panel, which makes it easier for agents to view the customer contacts, the sidebar apps that they need. You can also change the width of the ticket properties panel so you can see ticket fields more easily. This can be super helpful if you have a lot of ticket fields that are displaying a lot of different customer information. And then we'll also be extending this capability for flexible layouts next year with Layout Builder, which is going to give admins the ability to create different agents with different roles and workflows in their workspace so they have that information that they need about the customer. So that's one way. And then another way, which is actually in beta right now, is our new customer profile page. So this page includes the activity timeline, which you actually saw in the demo Chris showed within the interaction history within the ticket view, but it shows an expanded version of that timeline that includes different types of events. So more events within Zendesk, you can track more types of support activities. So you can have a more full view there. So if you're interested in that, we do have that beta program running currently, and I can drop a link to that in the chat here. And I'll turn it back over to you, Megan.
Thanks, Peter. I myself am very excited for Layout Builder. More to come at Relate. All right, next question. How can we update the organization page to reflect different customer information?
All right, I can take that one too here. Okay, so with custom fields, you can actually select which fields are going to appear on organization pages. One of the newer custom field types that's helpful for getting a complete customer view is the lookup relationship field. And so with this, you can link and surface other Zendesk data right on the organization page. So for example, in B2B, you might create a lookup field to connect an account manager to the customer companies that they serve. So you can surface the account managers' names right on the organization page so agents can quickly identify and reach out to the right account manager. So the same fields will appear across all organization pages. But if you do want to customize which fields are shown on which organization pages and have that level of control, you could build a custom solution. So we do have customers who have built custom apps that can help to control which fields are shown. So that's more of a pro quote, but definitely for more customization, that's an option.
Thanks, Peter. And I know this is a lot of information. There was actually a question in the Q&A if this is going to be recorded. A friendly reminder, yes. So have no fear, this will be recorded and all the resources will be sent to you after. All right. Next question, any advice on how to prep data and systems before integrating them with Zendesk?
I can take that, Megan. So this is a great question. Some of the key points to consider when integrating systems with Zendesk are what data we are bringing into Zendesk and is it relevant? Surface data that is relevant to the request agent is serving and the customer they are speaking with, and this data will help expedite the resolution time and provide a personalized service to the customers. Next is the data quality. Quality of the data should be priority. Agents need to have access to updated information and not the stale data. Data that changes often should be pulled in real time, like what we saw in the demo, the flight status. Data that do not change often, like the frequent flyer status, can be synced at a regular interval. For any real-time data sync, we should also be cautious on the API transaction limits and the amount of data we bring in. Like if we have to bring in attachments, then we can probably get the URL to the attachment than actually completely downloading the attachment into Zendesk. And the last point, which is also very important, is avoid data duplication. Store only key data into Zendesk, like the customer ID, that help unlock additional details on the customer. The beauty of Zendesk platform is that you do not have to store all the information that you bring into the agent workspace into Zendesk. Zendesk apps can make real-time API calls and can only display data. As we saw in our demo, we are making API call to get the flight status, but this information is not stored in Zendesk. This makes it lightweight and easy to set up, and it's scalable, and it prevents the data maintenance overload. Back to you, Megan.
Great. All right. Can we use an API to view data from another system in the agent's customer view?
I can take that one too. Yes, you can use APIs to pull in data from external system into Zendesk, and Zendesk supports the standard REST-based APIs. You can use Zendesk apps, as we spoke about, or the conversational data orchestration, which is powered by Zendesk integration service to build integration with external system. However, if external systems do not support APIs, we can use middleware to read and transform data into an API call. So that's also possible.
Perfect. I know there's a resource that I'm just going to quickly share out here, and we'll move on to the next question. Our customers often open up multiple message threads and contact points. Are there ways we can use Zendesk to get a more unified view across them?
Yeah, I can answer that. This comes up a lot. It's a really good question. So one thing to consider in Zendesk natively is just the concept of the end user in there, right? We have our agents, we have our end users. And if we look at an end user's profile, for example, we were looking at John Candy. When we pulled up his profile, he had an email and a phone number associated with it, right? I could have also added other contact methods to John Candy's profile. So let's say he I don't know, reached out over Facebook Messenger, I could have tagged that on his profile, and that's what creates the unified view. So again, if John Candy reaches out over any of those channels, it's going to tie back to his profile, and that's how we get that unified view. Now, how you actually do it, right? Because let's assume we have John Candy's email. He reaches out over email. Okay, that's easy. But what if John Candy reaches out over Twitter and his Twitter handle is, I don't know, Chicago Bulls fan 1991? How do we know that's John Candy? And the answer is we don't, right? So what you can do is train your agents to merge contacts together. So in an instance like I just described, you would basically have two contacts. One would be John Candy. One would be John Candy on his Twitter account. Once an agent determines it's the same person through whatever type of identity verification process you would want to stand up, that agent can then manually merge the profiles together. So there's actually a button within Zendesk, and we'll send some documentation on that, where I can merge those contacts together. So going forward, we know John Candy over email, we know him over Twitter. The next question I almost always get asked is, how do we do this in an automated fashion, right? It's a fantastic question. There isn't anything native to Zendesk that can handle that automatic merging process of contacts. And that's where we usually look to third-party integrations. So it may be something on the Zendesk app marketplace. I think there's a handful of apps on there. One I saw is called Smart End User Merge by Simple BU. That's one you can look at to try to manage that automatic merging process. There may be a couple others on there as well. I've seen some customers build middleware as well. So something just running out there in the cloud that goes through some type of process on whatever specified cadence to look through the record of users within the system and try to handle that automatic merge. And they can use a combination of reaching out to internal systems you have, CRMs you have that may have that data, and then push it back to Zendesk. So that merge we talked about earlier that an agent can do manually, we have endpoints for it, right? So there's APIs where you can access that functionality, and then build some type of process to then merge things together. So just to clarify there, merging profiles is how you get that unified view. So again, kind of a manual process. If you wanted to automate it, there are mechanisms and ways you can look to using Zendesk APIs to build some type of service to handle it.
Great information, Chris. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, I think we've got a couple left, and then we'll answer some of the live Q&A in the Q&A tab. So how does a unified customer view work with AnswerBot?
Yeah, I'll answer this one too. If I'm going to frame it as I did earlier, right? When I think about unified view, I think from an agent's perspective and then from a customer's perspective. And it's the customer who interacts with AnswerBot. So what does that mean for a customer? Well, it means having AnswerBot in different channels, right? So regardless of the channel that I reach out over as an end user or a customer, AnswerBot has that ability to reach out to external systems to personalize the conversation, right? And really what we're talking about is maintaining the same level of service that AnswerBot experience across different channels. So the example we showed earlier, I came in, provided a reservation number through web messaging. AnswerBot did a data dip, provided that personalized content back to me. In theory, I could go to Facebook Messenger and get that same experience. So when we talk about unified customer view in context of AnswerBot, think about AnswerBot just simply living in other channels that your customers use.
Great. I think we got one more left here. How can we use a single customer view to automate and optimize ticket flows?
Yeah, so I can answer that one too. So usually when I hear stuff like this, I think about routing and making routing-based decisions based on data points you have about your customers. So the way we do that in Zendesk a good chunk of the time is through triggers, right? And so we can set up triggers that look at data points to then make a series of decisions, right? Priority on the ticket, what group we want it to go to, so on and so forth. And so I think it's important to think about the workflows you want to stand up based on who your customers are. And the easiest example I gave is like a VIP customer or a frequent flyer type customer, silver, gold, diamond. We may want to route our diamond customers to a different queue, maybe to like a T3, tier 3 agent. And so it's important to take those data points that you want to make that routing decision based on and push them into Zendesk. And that can be on the user profile. It could be a tag that's appended to the ticket, like we showed in the example. And then you would set up a trigger that would route based off of that, right? So, a lot of customers also ask too, well, hey, should we have all this great data in an external system? Should we push all of it into Zendesk? I don't think so. I think you just take your crucial data points. One, what agents need to be informed about that customer, but two, the stuff that's going to inform your routing criteria. So that, again, may be very specific data points on an individual user. Are they a VIP? So on and so forth. And then I think another way to think about it too, and Varsha talked about this earlier, is going with a more dynamic approach using something like Zendesk integration services to handle routing. So you can write some custom logic that sits in the cloud, and that could then interface with external systems to determine routing criteria. So instead of having triggers in Zendesk, look for data points in Zendesk, you're looking at external systems for data points and then building that logic within the integration service itself. So hopefully that helped answer that question.
Perfect. Thanks, Chris. All right, I'm just going to stop sharing for a little bit because we do have a couple questions in the live Q&A that I think we can, since we have a bit of time, to answer. So Raphael asked, is there any training material being prepared to break down objections for customers who are used to Salesforce mindset, which is focused on the customer's vision?
Yeah, I can take this one. So there are a lot of platforms out there that offer different types of customer information and ways to create a unified view. Zendesk has an approach. Other platforms have different approaches. We do have a lot of content on the Zendesk approach to a unified view, which we'll share out. We've been sharing some of that information throughout this event, and then we'll share additional information in the deck after the event as well. We're going to be putting forward more content for customers around this topic in the future, so you can look forward to that. That content won't be really specific to other platforms. If you do have questions that you want to ask that are really specific to your situation and other platforms that you're looking at, you could definitely bring those to your account team. But really appreciate the question and the kind of interest in more content, more training around what that Zendesk approach to the unified view is. So thanks for that question, Raphael.
Perfect. Thanks, Peter, for taking a chance to answer that. And then one more from Deepak. What are the limitations on using third-party chatbot with Zendesk Enterprise version without SunCo?
Yeah, so for that one, you can build a an integration with a third-party chatbot into Zendesk for live chat without SunCo. So if you were to stick with just traditional Zendesk live chat, which candidly I don't recommend, a lot of customers are moving to messaging for various reasons. You could do that. So for live chat, you don't need SunCo. If you wanted to integrate a third-party bot with messaging channels, then you would need to utilize SunCo for that. That's kind of the simple answer there, and I'll put some information in chat here so you can take a peek, Deepak. Thank you for the question. It was a good one.
Awesome. And there was one that I just briefly answered, and I'll just maybe if there's some additional insight someone can offer here. But Jacob had asked, can you change the chatbot's icon and name easily? I had said it was very customizable, but Chris, I don't know, I'd love to hear from you. Maybe you have some additional resources or thoughts there.
Yeah, it's super simple to change it. Very easy, in fact. I don't know if you sent an article over, Megan, but I can try to pull one up very quickly. It's a couple clicks. It's stupid simple.
Awesome. Yeah, if you want to share it, Chris, and then we can also share it in the follow-ups as well. So with that, I think we've wrapped up all of our questions. That's great. Thank you, everyone, for your questions and team for answering them. We'll go back to the deck just for a couple updates. Letting everyone know that Zendesk user groups are now live. Super exciting. We encourage you to check it out. I will send out the link here. This time I actually used a bit.ly link to shorten them. So, and then we want to just thank everyone. It's been a great year. We are wrapping up our Zendesk community events like this for 2022. It's been a fantastic year. Thank you for your participation, your questions, but please keep an eye out for a forum. We will be asking for your feedback on, what have you liked and what would you like to see in the future. We definitely take that information and use it when we're planning for next year. So please keep an eye out for that and give us your feedback. But until then, happy holidays, everyone, and enjoy the rest of 2022, and we'll see you in 2023.